What if the object that has sat inside your wallet every single day of your adult life, the object you reach for dozens of times each week without a second thought, has been, according to one of the most ancient teachings in Jewish tradition, the most powerful spiritual tool available to you? And what if the reason it has not been working as a spiritual tool is simply that no one ever told you what to put inside it and why? Not a crystal, not a talisman, not something purchased from a vendor who claims to sell spiritual power for a price. Something so specific, so grounded in Torah law and Kabbalistic wisdom, so carefully described by the sages across 2,000 years of careful teaching, that the only reason most people do not know about it is that the knowledge has been passed quietly from generation to generation inside the community that preserved it, without ever making much noise in the wider world. Today, I am going to tell you what it is, where the teaching comes from, what the sages said it does, and exactly how to prepare it, not as a superstitious act, but as a precise and deliberate engagement with the spiritual laws of the home, the person, and the flow of abundance. Stay with me, because this teaching is going to change the way you look at the most ordinary object you carry. We begin in the city of Vilna in the winter of 1797. Rabbi Eliyahu ben Shlomo Zalman, known throughout the entire Jewish world simply as the Vilna Gaon, the genius of Vilna, was in the final weeks of his life. He was 77 years old, and he had spent those 77 years in a state of intellectual and spiritual engagement that his students described as beyond anything they had ever witnessed. He slept only 2 hours each night. He studied Torah 18 hours each day. He had committed the entire breadth of Jewish literature, law, philosophy, mysticism, mathematics, astronomy, to a memory so precise that his students said he could recite any passage of any text from any point within it, forward or backward, without hesitation. And yet, for all his extraordinary remoteness from the ordinary concerns of daily life, for all the years he had spent in a small room surrounded by books, rarely leaving to engage with the world of commerce and provision, the Gaon had always taught with great emphasis that the spiritual life and the practical life were not two separate worlds. They were one world, governed by one set of laws, and the person who understood those laws lived differently, in their home, in their dealings, in the way they carried themselves and their resources, than the person who did not. In those final weeks, a young student named Reb Zelig came to the Gaon with a question he had been hesitant to ask for a long time, because it seemed on its surface too practical, too ordinary, too far beneath the level of conversation appropriate for a man of the Gaon's stature. But the Gaon's final weeks had a quality of openness to them that his earlier years had not always had. He was speaking more freely, answering questions he might once have waved away. And so Reb Zelig asked, "Rabbi," he said, "there is a teaching I have heard whispered, that what a person carries on their body, and specifically what a person places inside the container through which they manage their money, carries a spiritual weight, that the contents of a wallet are not merely practical, but spiritual. Is this true? And if it is true, what should a person place inside their wallet in order to align it with the laws of blessing?" The Gaon was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded slowly, the nod of a man who had been waiting for someone to ask this question properly. "It is true," he said, "and the teaching is older than most people know. Sit with me." What the Gaon taught that evening drew from 3 distinct streams of Jewish wisdom: the legal tradition of the Talmud, the ethical tradition of the Musar masters, and the mystical tradition of the Kabbalists, and wove them into a single, practical teaching about what the wallet is, what it represents, and what belongs inside it. The first stream, the Talmudic teaching on the nature of money itself. The Gaon began by teaching something that surprised Reb Zelig, because it was not about the wallet at all, but about the nature of the coins and currency that live inside it. The Talmud, in Tractate Bava Metzia, records a teaching of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, the great 2nd century sage and Kabbalist, who said, "Money is not merely exchange. Money is trust made visible. Every coin, every note, every representation of financial value is fundamentally a claim on the trust of the community within which it circulates. A coin is worth what it is worth because everyone who handles it trusts that everyone else who handles it will accept it. Remove the trust, and the coin becomes a piece of metal. The trust is the money." The Gaon taught Reb Zelig, "When you understand this, you understand something profound about what a wallet is. It is not merely a container for currency, it is a container for trust. And the spiritual question about what belongs inside it is really a question about what kind of trust you are bringing to your financial life, and what kind of trust you are inviting through the things you choose to carry into your relationship with money." The second stream, the Kabbalistic teaching on the power of intention embedded in physical objects. The school of the Ari, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria of Saft, had taught, and the Gaon deeply affirmed this teaching, that physical objects carry within them a spiritual dimension shaped by the intentions, the history, and the meaning invested in them. An object that has been held with intention, that has been the focus of genuine, directed spiritual attention, becomes a carrier of that intention in the physical world. It does not merely sit passively. It broadcasts, in the subtle language of the invisible world, the quality of consciousness that has been invested in it. This is why, the Kabbalists taught, the mezuzah on the doorpost is not merely a decorative box. The parchment inside it, inscribed with specific words from the Torah by a scribe whose intention during the writing matters as much as the letters themselves, becomes a carrier of the protection and blessing those words embody. The intention of the scribe, the precision of the letters, the specific words chosen, all of these transform the physical object into a spiritual one. Not through magic, but through the precise mechanism of intention embedded in form. The same principle, the Gaon taught, applies to what a person places inside their wallet. If the wallet contains only currency and cards, and the accumulated miscellany of a life managed without attention, old receipts, expired cards, notes written on scraps of paper and never discarded, then it has no spiritual dimension to speak of. It is merely a container. But if the wallet is prepared with intention, if certain objects are placed inside it with clear understanding of what they mean and why they are there, then it becomes something different. It becomes a container for a specific spiritual orientation toward money, provision, and abundance. And the third stream, the Musar teaching on the relationship between the external and the internal. The Musar masters, those great ethical teachers of the Jewish tradition who spent their lives examining the relationship between inner character and outer circumstance, had observed, over generations of careful attention, that the physical environment a person creates around themselves reflects and reinforces the inner state they inhabit. This is not a mystical claim. It is a psychological one, and an extraordinarily precise one. The person who surrounds themselves with objects of integrity and intention lives differently than the person who allows their physical environment to become cluttered, careless, and inattentive. The difference is not in the objects themselves. It is in what the act of choosing and maintaining those objects does to the consciousness of the person who lives among them. It keeps them awake. It keeps them oriented. It reminds them, in the daily, physical, bodily way, that the Musar masters considered to be the most powerful form of reminder, what they believe, what they value, and how they intend to engage with the world. The wallet, the Gaon taught, is the most intimate of all a person's financial environments, more intimate than the home, more intimate than the office or the marketplace, because it is carried on the body. It is touched dozens of times each day. It is present at every transaction, every moment of financial decision, every encounter with the flow of money into and out of the person's life. And what is inside it is therefore present at all of those moments, silently, continuously, invisibly reinforcing whatever orientation the person has chosen to embed in it. Given all of this, the Gaon then answered Reb Zelig's question directly. He named 3 things that belong inside a wallet, according to the tradition he was drawing from, and he explained precisely why each one belonged there. The first thing, a small piece of paper on which is written, in one's own handwriting, the amount one gives to charity in a week or month, not the amount one intends to give, but the amount one actually, regularly gives, not as a record for accounting purposes, as a statement of identity, as a declaration carried on the body at every moment of the kind of person one is, a person who gives, a person for whom the flow of provision is not a one-way street into personal accumulation, but a two-way street through which blessing enters and also exits toward others. The Talmud teaches that tzedakah, the Hebrew word for both charity and justice, because in the tradition these are not separate concepts, is one of the most powerful spiritual acts available to a human being. And the Gaon's teaching on this point was precise. It is not the amount that matters most. It is the regularity. The person who gives a small amount reliably every week, without exception, who has made generosity a structural part of their financial life, rather than an occasional response to a moment of impulse, has established in themselves and in their household a relationship with abundance that the sporadic, large, but irregular giver has not. And carrying the evidence of that regularity inside the wallet means carrying, at every moment of financial transaction, a reminder of who you are and how you relate to the money that passes through your hands. The second thing, a specific verse from the book of Proverbs, written in one's own handwriting on a small piece of paper. The verse is the 9th verse of the 3rd chapter. Honor God with your wealth and with the first portion of all your produce, and your storehouses will be filled with abundance, and your vats will overflow with new wine. The Gaon was careful to explain that this verse is not a magical promise. It is a description of a spiritual law, one of the most clearly stated and most carefully examined spiritual laws in all of the wisdom literature. The principle it describes is this: the person who treats their wealth as a trust, as something to be honored by using the first portion of it for its highest and most sacred purposes, lives in a different relationship with abundance than the person who treats their wealth as purely personal property to be accumulated without acknowledgement of its source or obligations. Honor with the first portion, not with whatever is left after everything else has been taken care of, with the first. This ordering, giving before spending, setting aside for the sacred before attending to the ordinary, is understood by the tradition to be a statement of what the person genuinely believes about the source of their wealth. And the universe, the tradition teaches, responds to what the person genuinely believes, not merely to what they say they believe. Carrying this verse inside the wallet means carrying, at every moment of financial decision, a reminder of this principle. It is there when you reach for a card to make a purchase. It is there when you count the cash after a transaction. It is there, silently and continuously, asking, are you honoring with the first? Are you remembering the source? Are you treating this as trust or as pure personal property? The third thing, a single Hebrew letter, written or printed on a small piece of paper. The letter Shin. The Gaon's teaching on the letter Shin drew from the mystical tradition in a way that combined with great precision the Kabbalistic understanding of Hebrew letters as channels of spiritual energy and the legal tradition's teaching on the name Shaddai, the divine name written on the outside of every mezuzah, the name that the Kabbalists associated with the principle the tradition calls Shi Amar Dai, the one who said, enough, meaning the source of provision that sets the boundaries of creation and says, within those boundaries, there is enough. There is always enough. The universe is not a place of scarcity. It is a place in which the source has provided and continues to provide sufficiency, and beyond sufficiency, abundance, for those who are aligned with the laws governing its flow. The letter Shin, carried inside the wallet, is not a magic charm. It is a letter of meaning. It says, to the person who knows its meaning and who placed it there with that knowledge, the source of all provision is not separate from your financial life. It is present in it. It governs it. And the abundance you are seeking is not hiding from you. It is available to you through the laws that this letter represents. You are not operating in a universe of scarcity. You are operating in a universe of Shaddai, of the source that has said, there is enough, and it is flowing toward those who live in alignment with its laws. The Gaon told Reb Zelig, prepare these 3 things. Write them yourself. Do not have someone else write them for you, because the act of writing them is itself part of the practice. The hand that writes the amount of your charitable giving is enacting the commitment as it records it. The hand that copies the verse from Proverbs is learning the verse as it writes it, embedding it in the muscle memory of the body as well as the memory of the mind. And the hand that writes the letter Shin is, in the Kabbalistic understanding, creating a channel, however small, however modest, between the person who holds the pen and the principle the letter represents. Place these 3 things in the innermost compartment of your wallet, not on top of everything else where they will be lost among receipts and cards and the debris of daily transactions. In the innermost place, where they will be the last thing you encounter when you reach deepest, and where they will be held, protected, close to whatever currency passes through the wallet in the course of your daily life. And when you reach for your wallet, in any moment of financial transaction, however small, allow yourself, for just 1 breath, to remember that they are there. You do not need to take them out. You do not need to recite them. Simply remember. Let the awareness of their presence be the awareness of the principles they represent. Let the act of reaching for your wallet be, in that 1 breath, an act of alignment, a moment in which the laws of abundance are present to your consciousness rather than invisible beneath the noise of the transaction. Reb Zelig prepared his wallet that very night. He wrote the 3 things by candlelight in the room beside the Gaon's study. He placed them in the innermost compartment, and as he did so, the Gaon, who had heard him working in the adjacent room and had come to the doorway, watched for a moment in silence. Then he said, in the quiet voice his students had come to associate with his most important teachings, the wallet you carry tomorrow will carry something different from the wallet you carried today, not because of what is inside it, because of what is now inside you. That is the teaching of what to put inside your wallet. Not a charm, not a formula, but 3 precise statements of who you are in relation to money, to provision, to the source of abundance. I give regularly, and I carry the evidence of that giving on my body. I honor the source with the first portion, and I carry the reminder of that commitment wherever I go. And I live in the knowledge that the universe is not a place of scarcity, that Shaddai, the source that said enough, is present in every financial transaction of my life. Prepare these 3 things. Write them in your own hand. Place them in the innermost part of your wallet today. And for 1 week, practice the 1 breath of remembrance each time you reach for it. The change you will notice will not be in the numbers in your account, not immediately. It will be in the quality of your relationship with money, in the groundedness you feel in financial situations that previously triggered anxiety, in the clarity with which you make financial decisions that previously felt clouded, in the sense, quiet, steady, and real, that you are not operating alone in your financial life, that you are aligned, that the laws are on your side. Subscribe to this channel. Each week, I bring you another piece of this living and extraordinary inheritance, the wisdom of Torah, the teachings of the Kabbalistic and Musar masters, the practical spiritual laws that have carried Jewish families through every form of financial difficulty into lives of genuine, grounded, enduring abundance. And in the comments below, tell me, Which of the three things will you place in your wallet first? The record of your giving, the verse from Proverbs, or the letter Shin? Tell me where you are beginning, because every journey of 1,000 miles, the tradition teaches, begins with the knowledge of where you stand. The wallet you carry tomorrow can carry something different from the one you carry today. The only question is, will you prepare it? Shalom.